Welcome back to another episode of the Ironman Challenge at BHIVE. And this week we're diving deep into the power of mindset, the inner game that separates dreamers from finishers. To help us understand just that, we have an extraordinary Ironman athlete at the HQ today for a motivational talk. A man who's quite literally built himself from the ground up. Meet Sridhar Venkataraman. A corporate leader turned endurance athlete. Sridhar Venkataraman's story is the one of reinvention and raw determination. What makes him stand out isn't just endurance, it's his mental resilience. At the age of 43, a paragliding accident left Sridhar with a fractured spine. Most would have stopped, but he chose to rebuild. From conquering the fears of open water to finishing Ironman 70.3 races across Asia, Sridhar embodies a simple philosophy: passion, perseverance, and purpose. Combine these and you can sustain anything.
And I was like, see, it's what an infrastructure can do, Shesh. Like what you're doing is you're creating space. How infrastructure can influence your lifestyle. Exactly like what BHIVE is doing. I had to hang on to a jet ski and I had to be rescued. That is my first attempt at a triathlon. Cannot swim, take him away. Today, I can go into the middle of the ocean and we can hold a conference. You become the story you tell yourself.
Hello sir, welcome to BHIVE. And I think there is a good amount of high quality crowd, I can say. So many of them have personally messaged me that they've been very keen to attend this session. And a lot of them have quite a lot of questions. I think many who are doing Ironman, either the Goa or future, etc. They have their own set of questions. I'm sure a lot of people have significant longevity questions also possibly. So I do expect an interesting session now. So
Shesh, thank you very much. I don't know whether I should cut the momentum short and the hype, but I would like to put things in context. When I did my, the fourth Ironman triathlon, there was a guy who consistently used to beat me, and I saw that guy there, and I thought, oh my God, this time there's no chance of a podium. And I was surprised that I got a podium, and I came first in the race. And then I was wondering what happened to this chap. Did he have a flat or something, or did he not manage to finish it? And I found he was also on the podium, and he also had a first prize. Then I discovered, and he beat me by 1 hour. He consistently beats me by 1 hour. And this guy has just moved into the next age group than me. That means that he was faster than me by 1 hour, and he is much more older than me, and his name is Valerio Corridori. Valerio Corridori is 72 years old today. He's an Italian, and he is the current age group champion in his age group of 70 to 74. He has finished Kona. He did last year Ironman Nice Championship in 12 hours and 7 seconds, which is equivalent to doing in 11 hours. So I'm just trying to give you a context in the sense that there are people who, in terms of, if I try to put myself in the percentile, I'm somewhere in the 60th percentile as far as in the world rankings go. So that means there are at least 40% of the people in my age group who are participating who are faster than me. Again, I just trying to give you a context, that's all. I'm not trying to put myself down or trying to be modest or something. Therefore, it is something that I always keep in mind, that what is the benchmark for me? There's still a very long way to go, and and it's possible to climb that ladder. Now I thought, okay, maybe I'm an outlier. You see, maybe it's only outside the country we have people who are so strong. I was really humbled to find that by the way, I was asked by another company to be a judge for a contest which is called 50 over 50, and they were trying to find people of various marathoners of the year. They wanted to find who's the marathoner of the year, and I came, and I will tell you, they gave me 30 participants, and they asked me to choose 10 out of them, who all of them are senior, all of them over 50, and I found it very hard. And finally, I found one gentleman who is 73 years old. His name is Sheel Agarwal, and he has completed, he is still in the way of completing He is trying to complete all the majors in 1 year. He has already done 4. He has got another 3 more to complete. I don't know him. I'm going to meet him sometime next week when I go there. So, although there are people in India, give them the chance. And I can tell you that there are people in India who are able to, who will come and shine. There's one gentleman who travels by train and he's a farmer somewhere in Rajasthan or something, and his main income is making money out of marathons to supplement his livelihood as a farmer. This guy comes down, travels on a train, comes down, stays, sleeps overnight in the railway platform. The next day morning, he comes and participates in the marathon races, and nobody can beat him. And he's in the 60 plus category. How many of us know him? So we should really be humbled that there are people who are doing great things, and that's where we should be aspiring.
Getting back to starting from our context, you are somebody who grew up in Bangalore, studied here, and what I understand is, like many of us, aspire to take a stable career, job, and if you could hear a little more in terms of your studies and your initial part of your career and Ironman, your lot of journey, something around that will be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, I hope it's relevant to you, whatever way. See, when I was in school, I was basically a nerd, and I was encouraged to be a nerd. I come from a very conservative Tambram family, so they told me, listen, your sports and other things, forget it. You're not going to make money out of sports, so concentrate on your studies. I was not allowed to. I mean, they never bothered about any sports or anything. So my day came when I got out of the clutches and I was on my own in college. My basic journey started off from adventure sports, mountaineering, trekking, and then finally I lost my friends along the way because I had to go out of the country. I didn't find my group, and I wanted to keep fit, so I used to keep running, I used to keep cycling, and nothing major. Nothing major happened to me till I went. Again, I was somewhere in Indonesia, and there was no mountains there, so I found a paragliding group. I said, okay, great. Now this is something that really going to kick my adrenaline up, and I started to learn paragliding, and I did a number of paragliding jumps. I was about to get my paragliding certificate, and unfortunately, I had a bad accident. I landed on my back and almost broke my back. So that kind of put an end to my adventure sport activities, at least not mountaineering and adventure sports, because I thought it's not worth the subjective danger that is involved in adventure sports. And I said, okay, if I have to keep fit, I have to think in terms of doing something else. And that's where I started with marathons basically. I was in Singapore, and I was it's what an infrastructure can do, Shesh. Like what you're doing is you're creating space. Now Singapore is a place which showed me that how infrastructure can influence your lifestyle. Exactly like what BHIVE is doing today.
Thanks.
Right? So here I was, right opposite the East Coast Park, where I could run as much as I want without any traffic entangling me. All along the seashore, I could cycle, I could bike for 90 kilometers without encountering traffic, and I had 50-meter pools. I had 3 50-meter pools, one in my apartment and 2 outside. Now, what excuse? I mean, I couldn't have any further excuses. So I started dabbling in marathons. I used to do almost one half marathon, and these half marathons used to take place just a few kilometers from my house. And I started doing half marathons. I was doing like one every 2 months or so. Then I slowly graduated into full marathons. And then one day, one lady turns up, one good friend of mine who was a mountaineer herself. She lands up in my house. She said, hey, listen, I'm doing the Ironman Triathlon. And why are you, she asked me to come and see. I said, no, triathlon is not for me, I'm okay. And she did the first triathlon, I hosted her. Then I got intrigued about the sport. What is this triathlon all about? And yes, that's the first step I took. I said, okay, I signed up for my first triathlon, which was a sprint triathlon. And I still remember the Changi beach where the triathlon took place. A lot of hype, the music going full blast and whatnot. And I had to jump into the water and swim. 300 meters and I was panting. Like I thought, my God, I'm done for today. I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I had to hang on to a jet ski and I had to be rescued. That was my first attempt at a triathlon. I was rescued by a jet boat and I can still hear the words ringing in my ears. Cannot swim, take him away. I came back home, my sister-in-law was there, I had a new bike, I'd take back home. I was like sheepishly, I came back home and I started wondering what the hell, what went wrong? I thought, I was used to swim in the pool, and what went wrong? So I went back, and found there was a club. I asked my, I want to know what happened. The trainer asked me, why don't you swim one lap? I swam. Then he looked at me and said, what stroke are you doing? I'm trying to do freestyle. I said, okay, why don't you try breaststroke? I said, okay, I tried breaststroke. Then he said, listen, you got to start learning how to swim. Mind you, I thought I knew how to swim. Now I have to relearn. That means I have to forget all what I learned earlier and start again. Relearn swimming. It took me about 6 months to learn proper swimming. But the fear of open water, that took me much more time. Like every time I had to get into the open water, I had to calm myself down. It used to take me one day before I used to do mental exercises to calm myself down and get into the. Today, I can go into the middle of the ocean and we can hold a conference. I and my friends were talking. We were having a discussion in the middle of the ocean where I can sing. So, it's a process. It's a process it's a challenge and the process. The challenge, if the challenge and the process meet, then things can happen. So one thing led to another, and then I said, okay, fine. Then the triathlon. Then I used to come home, and my wife used to get stressed out. My leg used to be bleeding. It used to take me 2 weeks to get over, because I used to, those who have are using cleats, Shesh, on cycling?
Yes.
You do use cleats. I hope you're used to cleats by now.
Yeah, I've done a couple of long
Okay.
runs.
Those who are using cleats for the first time will understand that you're definitely going to fall 2 or 3 times. And you're going to fall, not just fall, you're going to fall with your legs stuck on the wheel, on the pedals. And you can get very bad road rashes depending upon where you fall. So I had to go through learn how to cycle with the cleats. And that took me another few months. And one thing led to another. It came to my first triathlon I did in Putrajaya, and I was surprised that I had a podium on that race.
More about the folks who are here who are either doing Ironman this year, many who are aspiring to do maybe next year. I think would love to hear about the journey in terms of the process and how we go about an Ironman.
Sorry, you want to know the process of how to?
The overall process. What are the right tips, especially for those who are doing Ironman? I would like to hear more about Ironman.
So, if you want to do the triathlon, you should understand that actually you're putting your body under a lot of stress. Don't underestimate that. And especially if you're doing the Ironman in Goa, sorry to scare you guys, and we are all from Bangalore. We live in an AC environment throughout. And going and doing a hot and humid Ironman is going to take a lot out of you. You need to train, you need to be consistently trained for at least 6 months if you're starting from a coach, that is. Swimming is one activity which is technical among all the sports. You can't underestimate it. You got to learn how to swim. You got to learn how to swim with a coach. Second is, those who haven't done open water need to get exposed to open water. Fortunately, me and my friends, we have a very good community here which is doing open water swimming. So you got to get used to the open water. So consistency and staying out of injury. It's a basic principle of endurance training. Should go up by about 10% week by week. And you should also give enough time for your body to rest. So the training, if you go through a proper training process, the training process will take you will increase the volume and intensity, and then you'll fall back. So it's usually called a 3-week build-up cycle and 1 week of recovery. So it's like if you see a graph, it's like a graph that peaks. There are different peaks. Now, if you train, normally if you have a coach, he will take you through this process. But if you are not coaching also, do not jump into it. Build it up gradually. There's a principle called 80-20 principle. 80% in zone 2 and 20 in zone 3 and zone 4. When you say zone 2, it means easy conversational pace. You should be able to hold a conversation when you're running. If you are able to hold a conversation when you're running, you're in zone 2. If you are able to speak in broken sentences, it is zone 3. If you cannot speak, you're in zone 4. In zone 5, you don't know what's happening. You may think it's not very challenging, but 80% of the time, if you spend in zone 2 and 20 in zone 3, you will find that you keep yourself free of injuries. Mind you, all of us, we are not young. I'm not young. So anybody who is beyond 20, I think or beyond 30, I would say, is setting himself up for an injury if you train too hard. And once you get injured, you have a different cycle altogether. Consistency, training at the right zones, and learning skills, especially in triathlon, is very, very important for doing any endurance activity.
That's great. And one of the things is, I think in last 10 years that you got a lot into Ironman. I think a lot of things around Ironman and fitness you've been doing. And I understand you are a coach yourself. I've met so many of your students, by the way, when I go to swim at base camp or when I go for cycling. In fact, our first meeting was a chance encounter where you brought your students or coaches to the near Oscote toll where I was also there for cycling. I think you have a significant set of people whom you are coaching, and something we would like to know about your coaching journey and what's the purpose, what's driving you, around coaching. I can definitely vouch that you're not doing that for money at this stage. And what's the purpose and what's driving you in coaching and how's the whole thing going?
I tell my coaches, I'm sorry, I should be paying you and you shouldn't be paying me, because I'm enjoying it. I feel guilty that I'm charging you guys, but I do it for a different reason. That's just to keep up the discipline of it. And also, I think many of you would understand that you learn more when you teach somebody. When you teach somebody, it forces you to think. It forces you to break down something complex into something simple and something that is digestible. These things don't happen unless you teach. And for me, the process of coaching somebody has been a process for me. It's a process of learning for me. I enjoy it. So and it forces me to do research. I take each person is an individual, so he is on his journey. It's fascinating to see the journey of all each guy has a different reason why he is doing a triathlon, and I try to put myself. I want to enable people. See, for me, as I told you, my story is that I want to make it easier to get into the sport, because the number of people who drop out of it because of injury, because of lack of proper training, is quite a lot, and I hope that I'll be able to sustain people in the sport. That's my main goal.
And other thing I've observed is, I think generally a lot of things you've been doing has been having a lot of impact, and a lot of impact around the community I deal with, in that sense, like among Indians in Bangalore, etc., around the fitness. And I also know that you are one of the people, while there are a couple of different individuals around it, you are one of the people who were instrumental in getting Ironman to India. I think I can definitely, see, Ironman is something, if I can think for myself, I lived in US, so I heard about Ironman, so event is happening in multiple places. I believe that when Milind Soman did Ironman, that's when a lot of people in India heard about it. But not everybody can afford to go abroad. You need to carry your cycle and logistics, etc. Not just your ticket to go there, right? Definitely I can speak for BHIVE as well. 6 of us who are doing Ironman in Goa. It wouldn't have been 6 of us doing Ironman if not for Ironman being in India, being in Goa. I think bringing it to India is making tremendous, impact, because it's not just those who are doing the Ironman. Indians from India are doing Ironman here. There is probably 10x more people who are aspiring and also working out because of that. I think there's a much larger impact. And if you can tell something about the whole journey, you and how you interacted with Deepak Raj, who is the founder of Yoska, your association with Deepak and Yoska and getting Ironman to India, that would be something interesting for us to know.
Yeah. So I used to be I've done most of my races in Southeast Asia, and I used to be the only Indian there. And there was nobody. Forget about my age group. There was no Indians doing the Ironman, and I used to feel sad that I couldn't carry there was no Indian flag flying anywhere. And when I was doing this thing, I came across Deepak Raj, who is my mentor and he's my main mentor and he's my coach also. I have many coaches, by the way, and Deepak Raj is my first coach. And I met Deepak because Yoska at that time was the first training platform in India. It has started some time back. Before, Deepak Raj actually floated Yoska as a training platform. So he had his own app. And Deepak came and met me, and then we were talking about triathlon. He has this very similar journey to mine. He's also very passionate about the sport. And we got the opportunity to seed fund Yoska to get the Ironman brand. With the seed funding, which meaning I formed a company called Triathlon Solutions, which seed funded Yoska to get the Ironman franchisee to India and run it. And I'm still a small stakeholder in Yoska. Very happy to remain there. And yeah, that's how we brought Ironman to India. It was a big challenge. First few years, sponsors didn't understand. In India, unfortunately, cricket sucks out all the space that is there for other sports. It's good for cricket, but not so great for other sports. In this sport, Deepak has done a great job of bringing the sport to the country.
I think, what I see is that, marathons, Ironman, etc. Personally, my view is, of course, one is watching team sports like cricket, but, a marathon and an Ironman kind of puts ourselves, we're not against anybody else. I don't need a partner to go for a run or a cycling. I think this has a wider impact to fitness of, a corporate community like us, right? I think, and it can be a much bigger sport which can be through so many years of a life, right? And you are doing it at 69. I think this is larger impact and it's amazing, and I would really say kudos to you to having brought it to India. And you're continue to be one of the key people inspiring us, coaching people, and wherever we go on the track, you're there. I think this is really big.
Yeah, I think we were just about to have this conversation. We had part of this conversation when we were sitting down there. And you see, the problem with most of us is we profile ourselves. We put ourselves into boxes. I'm an old man. Therefore, I have to behave like this. I have to walk with a stooped thing. I have to watch where I keep my foot. Now, this is the kind of profiling which we do to ourselves. If you look at a girl, no, the girl's place is in the kitchen. I mean, I'm not talking about today's age, years before. We kind of keep putting people into boxes. Why? Think for yourself. You are your own individual. You create your story. You are the story. See, I don't know how many of you have heard of read Yuval Noah Harari. Okay? Yeah, there is a gentleman, yes. See, it's all about stories you tell yourself. You become the story you tell yourself. So therefore, tell yourself the right story about yourself, you'll become that story. Tell yourself the wrong story, you'll become that story.
And so I'll move on to another interesting topic, beyond Ironman and sports. That's one part of it. I think you kind of also, when we spoke, you said you're not just you're an Ironman coach. That's what your your handle also says, Instagram. But beyond that, you're also a lifestyle coach, and you are guiding people on many different aspects. So one question I would want to go, I think just about the time my father-in-law has also landed. So I'll ask you, certain questions around, when people speak about longevity, right? I think one of the biggest headliner in the world is Brian Johnson. But I don't know, it's always interesting to read what he does. But I would say I would truly want to learn from somebody like you more than Brian Johnson. This is, I think the practices you are having is way more relevant for us. And what I've seen is, see, I'm 44. I know that even my own age group, a lot of people already start thinking at 44, yeah, we can't do much stuff. And I know from, of course, I interact with people of other generations who are in 60s. I think somewhere it is psychological that once people cross 60, it's like a senior citizen, I'm retirement age, and I think psychologically they start winding down, and maybe we have been seeing people all around, and probably we start thinking that's how it's supposed to be. And how is it? What's the secret of longevity? And at 69, you can beat like me, who's 44 for sure, and many others here. And you have somehow not fallen into the trap of that conventional thought process, and you are going and you are super competitive even at 69. And by the way, I think you just did a full Ironman, and I think in another few months you are doing one more full Ironman. I'm pretty sure every time you are trying to beat your own numbers, etc. And this is amazing. And what's the secret of your longevity, from food to mindset? To being competitive, it's very hard to really imagine, what's in your mind, how you appear from outside was what's in your mind. I think the secret of longevity is, and how to stay so fit, and so much motivation in terms of how you're thinking and how you're looking forward to so many different things. I would love to know more about that.
Yeah. The longevity is a very interesting subject by itself. Now, I know how many of you have read Peter Attia's Outlive. Have read? Okay, great. So it's not about living long. It's about the quality of life you lead. So all of us all of us are going to grow old. The question is that last golden years of your life. What is the quality of life that you're going to have in that period is what should and must occupy all of us, because it's inevitable that you're going to grow old. The question is, if you start looking at it, Peter Attia talks about what he says is the centurion decathlon. Now what he says is, you have to, you don't have to do an Ironman, you don't have to do a triathlon. But you should be able to carry 2 bags to the market and back. So what do you do for it? It's called the farmer's carry, by the way. Those who do the workouts, there's a particular workout called the farmer's carry. What's it? You're just carrying two pieces of heavy equipment and walking up and down. So if you are able to visualize what will be your last decade and how you are going to prepare for that last decade, it's very simple. That's it. That's what you're going to do. That's all that you need to do. And the good thing about a triathlon, as you mentioned, is that you don't need company. Running, you can just wear you can wear a pair of shoes and go for a run. It's very simple. Swimming is slightly more difficult. You need a pool, but once you know how to swim, you don't have to do a long 2 hours or 3 hours like some of us do for triathlon. You don't have to do that. You can just swim for half an hour. You can do a brisk walk for half an hour, and I can tell you that's going to keep you going till your in your longer time. Swim, biking, you don't really have to do it, because I wouldn't recommend anybody cycles in Bangalore roads unless you are used to it, and you can. Some of us need to do it to commute. I think you can commute faster on a cycle than on a car these days. In fact, walking. In fact, I've timed myself. My mother lives in Basveshwar Nagar, and I sometimes go to her house. If I take an Ola and go, it takes me 1 hour. If I go in a cycle, it takes me 45 minutes. And if I run, which I have done sometimes, it takes me 1 hour and 25 minutes. That's it. Okay. So the point is that longevity is not about the number of years you're putting in, it's about the quality of life. And it's not a big deal. There are very, very simple principles which you have to just keep moving. That's it. You don't have to do anything. You can move in any way. If you like dancing, please dance. That's a great way of moving. Just get out and walk around, move briskly. So if you have a goal in mind, it could be something as simple as writing a book. I mean, you don't have to do a triathlon. Again, I'm telling you, you must have a structured goal in mind. If you have a structured goal in mind and combine it with a decent amount of physical activity, you're going to be in a good place.
So this is something you started late, I would say, in terms of triathlon and even marathon, etc. Right? I know, which is kind of giving you very structured goal, because when we are speaking, you are already speaking about the next goal that you have, and so it's important that we keep certain goals
Yes.
and work towards it.
See, I tell my students who come to coach under me, see, look, I am a lifestyle coach pretending to be a triathlon coach. Okay, so you have to, now I am using triathlon as simply as a peg on which you hang your lifestyle to. You can have different pegs. You can, as I told you earlier, you can have music, you can have literature, there are people who are, I heard this, and somebody is 91 years old, he's getting an electrical engineering degree. So you can use different this thing. So to come back to what you are talking about is that you have to have a structured goal, and you have to have a smart goal, and you have to break that goal into different smaller goals that will keep your mind occupied. And once your mind is occupied, I think most of the things get taken care of automatically.
Great. I'll cover a topic, I wanted to cover a topic that's important both from an Ironman perspective and possibly from a longevity perspective as well, is two things. I think we spoke a lot about fitness, goal, etc. The role of nutrition and the role of sleep towards both longevity and Ironman, etc. Can I?
The best form of recovery is sleep. There are different ways of recovery, but the best form is sleep. Carbohydrates and fats. Carbohydrates, you'll get instant energy, you burn, you get quick energy. Fats, you'll get energy, you will get fuel, but it burns slower. So what happens typically when you are doing an endurance activity is that the first 1.5 hours, whatever carbs you've taken, that's going to finish off by the first 1 hour. After that, what's happening? It is your fat that starts burning, and your fat is going to burn much more slower than your carbs. That's why you'll not be able to maintain the same pace. As you are working out, there's a buildup of lactic acid, and this lactic acid has to be removed. And if this lactic acid is not removed, you will end up in cramps. You will end up in the muscles just give up. Your cells are not firing because they don't have enough the electrolytes are depleted, and you're not able to go fast. You'll not be able to go further. So you got to top up carbohydrates. B, you got to top up electrolytes so that the firing system in the muscles are continuing. And most important, see, the medium for all this thing is water. You have to have sufficient water to keep the whole thing going. So it's very complex, and you have to do this thing at the right time, keeping your water topped up, your electrolyte level topped up, your fuel level topped up. Now, how to do it is pretty intricate, and you got to that's where the coach comes in. Your coach should be able to tell you how to fuel and hydrate, and it doesn't happen overnight on a race. This is what you train. You're not just training your muscles, you're training how to hydrate and fuel on your long runs and on your long bikes. Okay, now this is the fueling part of it. Assume that you have got it nailed, you got it done well. The next most important thing is recovery. So in training, what happens is there is a build phase, and when there is, every time you are running, every time you are doing a workout, there are micro tears that happen in your muscles. Micro tears. Now these micro tears are natural. They are going to happen. Now, for these micro tears to recover, it needs time. It just requires time. So, if you are not giving time for these tears to recover, you will never recover. And these tears will become bigger and bigger and end up in an injury. The best form, there are different types of recovery. There is ice bath, there is massage, there is so many other kinds of recoveries, but the best form of recovery is the natural recovery, which is sleep.
In my life till recently, I never gave that much importance to sleep. In the past, I hardly used to probably sleep 5.5 hours, and I used to be proud of it. Till the time, Monapa forced me to buy a Whoop, and Whoop I think starts a lot of focus on sleep, and that's when I started learning sleep is so important, and the data started telling me whenever I sleep less, my HRV is not great, my resting heart rate is not great. And I think, and then I started meeting a lot of important fitness people who are really big into running, etc. The kind of importance they give to sleep, I think that's probably an important tip for many in the corporate world. If you want to keep going long, I think sleep is something really important.
Sleep is a subject on which we can talk for a long time, but anyway, so I'll try and keep it very short. You got to literally work on your sleep. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen until you work on it. First of all, you have to accept that sleep is as important as food. You need to get 7 hours minimum of sleep, and I can guarantee you, if you get 7 hours minimum of sleep, your output next day in your corporate world is going to be far, far superior.
That's great. I think so. Planning is super critical. And definitely, I think family support, caught up with ma'am as well. I think quite often for us, family quite often is the one who would feed the right nutrition, would support us through. And a lot of times, I personally feel for myself, so much sacrifice my wife and family is doing for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that I'm being a little selfish,
Absolutely.
doing everything and they're taking all the load.
Absolutely.
Seniors like me will suffer from night sleep. Even with all these exercises, I find it very difficult to sleep between 10 and 6 with interrupted sleeps. How do you most interruptions? So I will go to bed at 10 and get up at 11 and simply wandering in the bed, again the sleep will come. So how do seniors will overcome this type of trouble in respect of sleep?
See, this is part of aging. Part of aging is your sleep cycle is going to get disrupted. Even for all the talk what I'm giving you, I'm not having the same quality of sleep which I had in my younger ages. I work out for about 3 to 4 hours a day, every day. I'm so tired that I fall asleep. See if you can push yourself a little harder. Now, I would advise you to go for a walk in the evening for half an hour and at a lower intensity and pace than you did in the morning, and see whether it helps you. Otherwise, I'll give you some links to one of my friend who's in America, she is a sleep therapist, she's a specialist. You can even get in touch with her.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the crowd for coming in and staying on.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm truly humbled, and I should say that the quality of questions that you guys lobbed at me, it's totally out of the ordinary. I'm very happy that you asked me these questions. It forced me to think and forced me to interact with you in a manner which I hope is of use and relevance to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Shirish.
Thank you, sir.
The power of recovery. Every run, every ride, or every swim breaks your muscles down, but it's during recovery that it rebuilds, adapts, and comes back stronger. Prioritize sleep, hydration, stretching, and participate in active recovery sessions. And also make sure to listen to your body. Sometimes a day of rest can do far more than an hour of training.